go to the village of Fatima. Jacinta and Francisco and Lucia were the two. Right away they knelt down with him and listened to what he said. For what he had to tell them still gives us no peace today. Children of this earth, pray around the world. Listen to God and love only Him beneath His tender stars. Children of this earth, heaven is so near. For when you think it can't go anymore, God is there for you.
1 mile away from Hudson River, Our Lady of Fatima in a monastery of charity. 1 mile away and near the Hudson River when the airplane was landing in Hudson River. Tears of joy from space, tears of joy from grandparents, and guardian angels not just for New York City's mayor or for the current and future presidents of the USA. Laughing and joyful children's eyes for their grandfathers and fathers, and in other countries for their fathers or grandfathers who are now politicians or presidents. Our story begins with a post-war movie set in New York about a Santa Claus known as the Miracle on 34th Street. It came to theaters in Manhattan in 1947. It's about a child whose parents are divorced and two grown-ups who are in love but can't express their feelings. Because of this, the child makes a wish to Santa Claus and the wish comes true. The movie also talks about God and the United States Treasury. On the dollar bill it says, "In God we trust." It's a wonderful movie. And this wish that children make is still relevant today as politicians and presidents think about their childhoods or try to rediscover them in this busy world, to the delight of children. A wonderful movie. Now our story travels to Fatima and the Kovadar area, where an angel appeared and taught 3 shepherd children a prayer to say. On his second visit, he asked them why they weren't saying the prayer. This prayer of the 3 children was a requirement for the beautiful lady to appear to them in 1917. Because of healings and the prevention of unimaginable things in the world, the author who wrote a book about all the apparition sites travelled to Fatima and got to know the Carmel of Coimbra there. He received a request there to find children who still pray deeply and can enthusiastically embrace or love God or Jesus with his mother. At that time, as a police officer, he refused, since he was a bearer of weapons and a uniform and no longer believed in miracles. After a few years, after many requests were fulfilled, presumably through prayer by the convent where the visionary of 1917 lived, he began to reconsider. He was amazed by the incredible healings and fortunate outcomes of attacks that the sisters in the convent prayed for. Many pilgrims were high-ranking figures seeking peace in their hearts, like the mother of General Paul. Now he was convinced that 16 sisters could achieve a lot with God. After the loss of a friend and bishop who died suddenly by fire and steel, he committed himself to trying to find children for genuine prayer, thus fulfilling this wish of the Carmel. Because of a dream he had back in 2001 about the collapse of the Twin Towers, also known as the World Trade Center, he flew with a pilgrim statue in his briefcase from Portugal to New York in January of 2009. He went right away in January because of the urgent request from the convent where Sister Lucia lived. When the plane crashed into the Hudson River, this pilgrim statue was barely a mile away, in a convent where he was visiting nuns. Afterwards, without knowing anything about the tragedy, he gave a speech at New York City Fire Department Engine 226 to many affected by the tragedy of September 11, 2001. After a meeting a few days later, everyone agreed to send a children's choir from New York to Rome, which sang the song that a heavenly dream near the village of Connersroith conveyed to a musician. This happened after the musician meditated in front of a picture of little Jacinta, a shepherd girl, who died shortly after the apparition at the age of 11. The children from New York then sang this song in Rome and St. Ignatius in 2009. It should be noted it has the imprimatur and nihil obstat. The Heavenly Chess Moves prepared all of this from 1998 to 2009, including a public presentation by a Hungarian cardinal in 2006 in Fatima at the site of the 1917 apparition. He presented this red book in which politicians, bishops and cardinals supported this wish. This book, a new opportunity with dedications and blessings for the action, as well as the wishes of children for peace. The nuns of Coimbra had been praying for this since 1999. Now, after 25 years and with the raging war in Europe, the decision was made to document this 1916 event again and to focus especially on the angel's prayer, which is not reported by the Vatican. This prayer is the key to God's action. If the shepherd children had not fulfilled this request of the angel, the apparition would not have been granted to them in 1917, and the warning from this secret would not have been given before World War II. It wasn't until 1943 that the Vatican released it, when much already lay in ruins and a genocide was in full swing. Lucia cried many tears because no one wanted to listen to the message. Many important people pilgrimage to Fatima, write wonderful words in their sermons, but why does nothing change? Don't they pray like the angel taught that deep prayer to the 3 shepherd children? Do they even take their faith seriously anymore? When I was traveling in Hungary with a priest from Fatima, I asked him why they don't make the healing spring public. He told me they don't want a second Lourdes here. I was speechless, because it's mentioned in old books and so are the healings from this spring. They also couldn't have built the basilica if the spring hadn't appeared. Also, when we presented this project during a visit with the Pope in Rome, he was pleased, and what he told a friend of mine there is still being kept secret to this day. I'm sad. Humanity can preserve this planet and also believe in miracles, like children believe in Santa Claus, whom adults often play, but only for a short time each year. Why don't governments and politicians or bishops and cardinals become modern-day Santa Clauses or guardian angels? Author Paulus presented a book at the 37th Frankfurt Book Fair, which connected celestial phenomena with research findings, politics and world events. Cartoonist Werner Koch drew the pictures for it. It also highlighted the issue of information suppression in religion, politics and history, and explored the provocative question, what if? The chapters simulated fictional situations, although the introduction pointed out that these were fictional, simulated situations. Almost all readers forgot this fact after the first chapter and reacted actively. So, the test confirmed that pure information, without an emotional component, has no learning effect. Back then, the image of the Iron Curtain dissolving from east to west was ridiculed, saying that the insurmountable Iron Curtain between east and west would not fall. "18 years later, as if by a miracle, a song was composed. And the music came from the universe, probably from a little girl who died on February 20th, 1920, in Lisbon at the age of 10. A musician from Connersroith sat thoughtfully in front of her picture and asked her in his thoughts, 'How do you want the song?' and went to bed. That same night, in a dream, It was composed and written down in the early morning hours, shortly before Christmas Eve of 2003. This is about the Olympiad of Hearts, which started at the 1985 Frankfurt Book Fair, to be continued. The song has been translated into 13 languages and has been recognized as a hymn in 3 countries. And the premieres took place in Vienna, Nuremberg, even by a police choir in uniform, and in Rome. In New York at St. Patrick's Cathedral, also by these children who sang in Rome and at that time had wishes for the Pope. The nice lady, as the children called her back then, had now probably started a choir that can open the borders of countries and wanted to bring to the USA this message, that heaven gave to this little girl in 1917 dreams of connecting hearts from east and west with music, since language often fails. May children also give politicians who are fathers or grandfathers hope for a new sunrise. This song is dedicated to all those who serve their communities and those who put their lives on the line every day at work. No one is greater than the one who gives their life for God's creations and their friends, as Jesus, the Son of Mary, said. A special thank you to the families of the deceased or suffering miners and soldiers deployed at Chernobyl, who for years made it possible to control the descent of the reactor core and prevent a global catastrophe. Thanks also to the submarine crews and their commanders who prevented a world war as if guided by heaven. Our thanks to all of them. Let's remember with hope and a song from the heart, especially those who made many sacrifices, especially during the Cold War. We also remember the music choirs from St. Petersburg who sang at this event in Nuremberg. All these people often followed their hearts, making a new morning possible. It wasn't and isn't as automatic as many people who don't know any better might think. Let us remember them, not just those killed at the World Trade Center, but especially their families. And in quiet remembrance, let's also remember the 368 police officers and firefighters who gave their lives out of duty and love on September 11, 2001, because some circumstance allowed it to happen this way. Shouldn't we now, after the video, start to listen and to feel? We lose people in this life to be made aware of something which perhaps heaven makes possible for us in this way. Children affected by the World Trade Center disaster sang with a Russian choir of the former Ural Cossacks. May the children from the USA not just be a one-time event on June 10, 2009 in Rome and New York. In January of 2001, the statue of Our Lady travelled from Portugal with silent calls from Europe and the monastery, along with letters, to New York and stayed there for a week. She was present a few meters from the crash site on the Hudson River on January 16, 2009. Not a coincidence, a pilgrim Madonna from Portugal in New York. Was a children's choir a way to carry this message from 1916 and 1917 from New York to the whole world? Maybe the mayor of New York or the new president of the USA in 2025, and even the presidents after him, will personally take care of this little plant of the small choir, a small group of children from New York. Until 2024, the children are an insignificant seed that could grow, or even can grow, in the hearts of not only politicians around the world, if this could be or was a point, letter, or just a comma of the heavenly apparition. As they say in the USA, learning through doing. It all lies in the hands of a few hearts. In 1987, 1 year after Chernobyl, the Ural Cossacks were still children, and the children from the USA were not yet born. Now, in 2009, singing together in Rome at St. Ignatius and St. Peter's, A glimmer of hope and a one-of-a-kind international choir event, a big idea and the heartfelt wish of a child who is already watching us with concern from another world, hoping to make not dreams but realities come true, even if not entirely by their own strength but with the desire of their heart, and to all of us in whom an inextinguishable divine spark burns. In the US and Europe, an idea was born. It makes it possible. If just 2 kids sing for their political leaders, the world can change the way it was meant to. And it lets politicians believe again in the spirit of Christmas and in the future of their children and grandchildren. Just like the US Treasury, supported by the people, prints "In God We Trust" on our money. Let's use this gift right before Christmas 2006. Write a postcard to your mayors, ambassadors and political leaders, even the president. Tell them to think about the future of all of you and their own kids and grandkids, not just at Christmas. Hey there, kids, big and small. All it takes is a stamp and a postcard. This card, postcard or letter is important. A simple email won't work. The person receiving it needs to hold the card, read the message, even smell and feel it. That's learning with emotion. Emails just disappear or get deleted with a click, or by a computer program. A postcard has to be delivered by the mail carrier. So, help us out. It's all in your hands now. Therefore, some children of 9/11 did sing some month later in Rome and Vatican, and later in St. Patrick Cathedral, New York. More or less, no one would listen to the message. It's not just the future of planet Earth. Write a postcard and say a silent prayer that it reaches the people who need to read it. With hope and love from the heart's desire, not only of children and beings from another world, best wishes to you and your guardian angel. Sincerely, R.J. Paulus.